What's happening? Tony Blair's bank holiday foray into the campaign fray was greeted precisely as you and he. I know the moment I stick my head out the door, I'll get a bucket of what's it poured all over me. Predicted. Today in Lazarus News, allow me to reintroduce Nick Clegg. The former Lib Dem leader and Deputy Prime Minister is still an MP, of course, and hopes to remain so after 8 June. This afternoon he'll use his first speech of the campaign to prod the Tories on Brexit. We can't have a strong economy and a hard Brexit. Theresa May alone is responsible for pursuing this course. It is already hurting the very people who need most help in society. So the question in this election is this: who will hold Theresa May accountable for the economic harm she will inflict on Britain? Another question in this election is whether May will continue to regurgitate her strong and stable leadership line after damaging leaks about her Brexit dinner with Jean-Claude Juncker. Of course she will. It's a rhetorical question. Don't write in. Brussels gossip. Is the Conservative line remarkable and deeply worrying? Is via Keir Starmer. Labour's a mass of very spiky hurdles to overcome the Guardians. May will be giving her second favourite soundbite a roll around the West Country today, as she heads to what was once a Lib Dem heartland to warn. A vote for Tim Farron's team is a vote for, you guessed, minus a coalition of chaos. The opposition parties are lining up to prop up Jeremy Corbyn and disrupt our Brexit negotiations. A recipe for years of drift and division at this crucial time. Meanwhile, back at the Toddlers Debating Society, Tom Watson has, a full 5 days after the Foreign Secretary's mutton-headed mugwump jibe at Corbyn, rated the rejected verses from the Jabberwocky for a repost. Today, media have been briefed. This is not a drill. Labour's deputy leader will tell the ASTA Union's annual meeting in Blackpool. Boris Johnson is a caggy-handed, cheese-headed fopdoodle with a talent for slumocking about. Corbyn himself will be in Southampton, advancing a fresh Labour policy to get 10,000 additional police officers onto the streets of England and Wales, arresting the fall in bobbies on the beat since 2010. The Labour leader, it's worth noting, did not bite back at what he called Johnson's personal name-calling. I've never been involved in that, and never will be. Yesterday he managed to respond to the Blair bait without referencing a single foodstuff. That government brought about the national minimum wage. And I just remember going home at 5 am from an all-night sitting in Parliament to pass the national minimum wage legislation. And I just thought, this is what politics is about. This is worthwhile. At a glance. Alistair Darling says Corbyn is the leader right up until the general election. Labour bans Rockdale MP Simon Danczuk from standing in election. Conservatives launch late push to raise up to £19 sterling 5M for campaign. UK warned it needs new Middle East policy that does not rely on Trump. Britain's energy supply is in jeopardy after Brexit, warn MPs. Poll position. No fresh polls that I could spot so far today, so your guess is as good as mine, and quite possibly as good as the polls themselves. Diary. At 7 am, George Osborne clocks in for his first day as editor of the London Evening Standard. At 10:30 am, Caroline Lucas and MEP Molly Scott Cato unveil the Green Party's Brexit policy in Hackney. Nicola Sturgeon campaigns in Leith with the SPN's Edinburgh candidates at 2 p.m. At 3 p.m. Nick Clegg makes his Lib Dem campaign debut with a speech on Brexit. Leader-wise, Jeremy Corbyn is in Southampton to talk policing. Theresa May targets the southwest of England with a rally in Bristol. Tim Farron speaks at Westminster Synagogue. And UKIP's Paul Nuttall is in the West Midlands. Talking point. Liberated from his Tatton seat. Former Chancellor turned how hard can it be? Newspaper editor George Osborne today switches his attention to the Evening Standard. Here, Amelia Gentleman deftly picks through the stories Londoners might be less likely to see in its pages. Rough sleeping. Cuts to local authority budgets. The bedroom tax among them. But of course all eyes will be on how the paper positions itself ahead of polling day. As Andy Slaughter, Labour MP for Hammersmith, puts it. The main issues we are campaigning on are directly the consequences of policies created by George Osborne. First reader to spot a strong and stable leadership headline wins a retreat in David Cameron's luxury garden shed. Read these. In the Times, Rachel Sylvester wonders, does it matter if May isn't likable? Unlike most other politicians, Mrs. May does not want to be liked. She does not bother with small talk or embark on charm offensives with the media or MPs. She could not care less if European leaders find her rude and unhelpful. She relies on her husband Philip and a small circle of trusted advisors, but does not crave wider external approval. Unlike Boris Johnson, she does not have an irresistible urge to entertain. Unlike Donald Trump, she does not have a compulsive craving for attention. She is not approaching a likely electoral landslide nervously, like someone carrying a Ming vase across a slippery floor, as Roy Jenkins said of Tony Blair in 1997. Dull campaign. Janan Ganesh, in the Financial Times, says we are all to blame. It is short-sighted to blame the proximate culprits. They just respond to incentives. Corbynites would be remiss not to command a party so few citizens of the moderate left could be bothered to join. The Prime Minister would be foolish not to sloganize her way through this campaign when the political cost is near zero. People whom few would mistake. Alexander the Great would be lazy not to run office when there is so little competition. The problem is not them. The problem is us. Our apathy has inescapable consequences. The smaller politics becomes, the riper it is for capture by ideologues and second-raters, and ideological second-raters. In my role as a commentator, I encounter just two attitudes to politics: indifference and obsession. A civic culture needs more hobbyists, engaged enough to scrutinize the news and join a party, but removed enough to bring a perspective born of civilian life. Revelation of the day. It turns out there's a reason why the SMP talking to honestly they really are real voters events have so far been keenly stage managed. The day in a tweet. It was 20 years ago today. And another thing. Would you like to wake up to this briefing in your inbox every weekday? Sign up here.